What's going on, guys? This is Looking Ahead to Beto Days, and I am your host, Chris. We're doing a little bit of a different episode this week. I decided, after getting quite a few requests about doing an episode on the debates, that I would do an episode on the debates. This is a little bit different than what we've been doing. We've talked a lot about policy. We've had guests come in and talk about policy, but I decided I was going to do something special. So I brought in some old guests or some former guests, and we talked about the debates, what we saw, what we thought would come, and what we all took out of it is it was kind of chaotic. Like, even our discussion was chaotic because, it's June 2019. The election is not until November 2020, and the first primary is not until February 2020. So there's not much that can be gleaned from this. Like, we watched all 4 hours of the debates from both days. We watched, we read information, we did research. We looked at polls, and it's June, so you'll get to hear the discussion. We pre-recorded that, but it's very interesting as you try to follow it along, because it ran very much like the debates themselves. But before we get into that, we're going to get into some Beto news. So last week was July 4th, and instead of having grandiose parades to themselves, a lot of the candidates went out and they went around the country, and Beto was no different. He went to Independence, Iowa, where he participated in a parade. He participated in, or at least went to, a citizenship ceremony at a baseball stadium. But I think the biggest thing that I took from that was he took his kids with him on that trip. We've seen Beto by himself. We've seen Beto with Amy, his wife. We haven't seen him with the three kids that much as a nation. I know they saw it a lot in Texas, but not so much here. Nationally. So it was really nice to see Beto the dad, and you can tell his kids really love him, and he's a really good dad. He was marching with Henry on his shoulders through the parade. They were all handing out candy. He gave talks before the parade started. He made sure to mention that they needed to be respectful to the other candidates. Like, he is a stand-up guy, like 100% a stand-up guy. And then after the 4th of July last Friday, he participated in the NEA Strong Public Schools Forum. Basically, him and the other candidates went in and they were asked questions, and they were to answer these questions. And, because they're teachers, there was all these limitations. So it was really nice to see. And education is extremely important to me. Those of you who don't know me personally, when I'm not doing my podcast or being a dad, I am a teacher majority of the year. So it was really good for me to hear a lot of their different policies and how they felt about things and what they wanted to do, and how education was important to them, because that's my number one issue right now as a father to my son, and a mentor and somebody that a lot of my students look up to. That stuff's important to me. So it was really nice to hear his views, what he wants and what he wants to do as far as students, as far as education. One of the things from that stuck out to me was where he talked about charter schools and private schools. And I agree with him on this point. If you want your kid to go to a private school, you can send your kid to a private school. But that private school shouldn't be getting any taxpayer-funded money. You're already getting money from the parents who are paying for your kid to go there. There's no reason they need to get taxpayer money. That is no vouchers, no nothing. I'm spot on with Beto on that. But kids should have the right to go to a private school. If your parents want to send you to a private school, they should be able to. Point blank, period. And then on Saturday, he participated in the Essence Fest, which is it was the 25th anniversary of Essence. He went and he spoke a lot about, and he talked a lot about the importance of women of color, and just how essential they are to democracy, and how big of a impact in the democratic, just everything they are. How they participate, getting out to vote. They're really like the heart and soul, and that's what he said, is they were the heart and soul of of the Democratic Party, and then it gets overlooked a lot. And you can go on Facebook or on the internet and find where he talked as well. It's really good. I don't want to take too much from that. And you can also find the NEA Strong Public Schools Forum on there as well. If you look at my page on Twitter at Look to Beto Days, or excuse me, at Look to Beto Days. I can't believe I messed up my own Twitter handle, but it is at Look Ahead to Beto Days. The number 2. I shared all of that out. He also, while he was there, he went to a food bank. Like, he went and handed out food. Like, he's got his hands in so many things because he wants people to know that he's here for them. Like, it's just amazing to see some of the things that he's done. But he wasn't done just yet. On Sunday, he had this huge event where he had musicians come in. Willie Nelson's granddaughter came and played, and he spoke there for like 40 minutes on immigration, on all sorts of things. And he doesn't stand on a stage. He stands in the middle of the people because that's where he feels like he belongs and where he can do the most good. And again, that's also on my page. You can look that up and give it a watch. I could go into more detail, but I really want you guys to be able to watch it. I can't do justice to what the man does on his own. It's really good stuff. And moving on from Beto news, I've not always been the most politically active person. I shared something on Twitter the other day about why Beto for me. And not everybody follows me on Twitter, so I decided that I was going to share that here with you guys. So I'm trying to keep this going with other Beto supporters, but I'm going to be the first. And this section of the show is going to be called Why Beto. So, why Beto for me? For me, it really changed, and everything changed in November of 2016. I'm not going to go into details, but the day after the election, I walked into school and I had one of my students come up to me and say, "Mr. True, I heard Donald Trump's going to bring back slavery." And I was like, "Well, no, he can't do that. That's, we've pretty much ingrained that in our Constitution. He can't do that." But the fact that kid even felt that way as a child, is very telling. So after that happened, I didn't know what to do with myself. I wanted to be involved, but I didn't know how to do so. So I kind of took to Twitter. When I took to Twitter, is mostly just bashing on politicians, mostly Donald Trump. I wasn't doing the best thing to get myself heard. And then in, I believe it was July of 2018, a video came across my Twitter page of Beto O'Rourke answering a question about football players kneeling. And the way he answered that question spoke to me. It really blew me away. I was like, oh, wow, I'm going to pay attention to him. And I did. I followed everything he did. I found a way to watch that debate with Ted Cruz. I'm in Virginia. I'm not in Texas. I had no stakes in that race whatsoever, other than I wanted to see him in the Senate. I wanted to see him unseat Ted Cruz because I felt like that guy could do so much more for our country. Well, when November rolled around and he lost, I looked at my wife. I said, he's going to run for president. And when he runs for president, he's got my vote. So I continued to follow Beto, and I was watching a lot of the stuff he was doing. And I was telling my wife, he's going to run. He's going to run. Watch him. He's going to run. My wife said, I don't think so. He said he wasn't going to run for president, this, that, and the other. He was going to, go back to El Paso. I was like, no, he's setting up for a run. And then he announced. And as soon as he announced, I did something I had never done before. And I donated money to a political campaign. And that's never happened. That's not something I've ever been motivated to do. I dropped 25 immediately. And then I started paying attention to what was going on. He came here in April. He came to Hampton, Norfolk. He went up to Henrico in Virginia, up near Richmond, which I unfortunately could not be at, but I begged my wife to go. Begged her to go because I couldn't go. I need you to go and record what he says. I need to see everything. You got to ask these questions for me. I need you to go. And I texted her vigorously throughout the day. How was it? Was it fun? How was he? Was he like in person? I was just enamored. And I kept going on Twitter, and I started spreading more stuff out about Beto. And then one day, a fellow volunteer sent me a direct message and like, hey, how do you feel about volunteering? Do you want to volunteer and do social media? And I was like, yes, absolutely. I want to do that right now. How do I do it? And so I signed up and I started doing social media. I started doing that at first, just tweeting stuff out, hashtag Beto 2020, retweeting stuff. And then I slowly started upgrading to where I started doing little videos in the morning. I started that on Father's Day, and I've tried to do one every single day since then. I've not been best about it recently just because I've been very busy. But I mean, I think I've missed 2. I haven't done one today yet, but I'll get to it. I'm doing this. But like I got really involved, and I started getting ingrained in the community, and the Beto supporter community is one of the best things that's ever happened to me. Like he's really brought out the best in America and the best in all of us. And it's just, it has been really, really fulfilling for me. And he's really brought me out of my comfort zone. I started this podcast. I do this podcast weekly to talk to you guys, to spread the word on Beto. That's not something that's in my wheelhouse. You know, I listen to each and every podcast several times, because I listen for mistakes I made. I hope people like this. I hope people don't get upset about this. Like I just analyze myself. On Friday, this coming up Friday, I'm going to one of the Lights for Liberty vigils. I'm starting at a meetup. I've held meetups. I've done clipboarding as well. Like I have never done these things before. And so the question was, why Beto for me? And it's because he's literally brought out the best in me. I feel like being involved in this movement has helped me be a better father, a better husband, a better person, a better American, because I really felt like at the time that America was dead. Like I didn't have any sense of identity, but he's brought that out in me. He has brought out my best. And I'm so much happier for being involved in this movement and getting involved in doing something about it. And that's what he can do for all of us. Beto will bring out the best in America, and that is what we need right now. And that's why he needs your vote, he needs your volunteer hours, and he needs your money, really. And like at the end of the day, there's money's involved. But without further ado, we're going to go ahead and go right into our discussion. All right, guys, so we'll be talking about the debates today, and to do that, I actually brought back a couple of previous guests. I have brought back Dan and Hannah. What's going on, guys?
What's going on?
Hi, Chris. How's it going?
Not bad, guys. So we all took the time, and we watched the debates, and we all took a couple weeks to really think about it, see how we felt about it, and that's what we're going to talk about. So how do you guys think it went? Like, I mean, it's a first debate. Honestly, it means literally nothing. I mean, like if you mess up in the first debate in June of 2020, it's not going to kill your campaign. Does it help it? Not as much. But like, how do you guys think it went, Dan? How do you think it went?
I think it went as well as you would expect, if that makes any sense. Nobody really stumbled. A few people kind of stood out. You said it's June. The first primary is in early February. Nobody can sit there and say, oh, one person did quit, but we'll get to that one later.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really just like, what's ahead? What's going to happen next? So, what can we extrapolate from this? And we'll get to that soon, I guess. But, it didn't really like move a needle for me in any one way or the other. I said it's still a few months or more debates. There's still people in the debate who shouldn't be on the stage. But basically, how I thought. A few people stood out who I thought might stand out. A couple people I didn't think got the kind of attention as well as they did on stages I thought they should got in the media. But I guess we'll get to that in a few minutes. That's basically my opinion.
Yeah, what do you think, Hannah?
Yeah, I don't think there was anything that was like mind-blowing or anything that 100% swayed me one way or the other. But like we've just said, it was June. We're still a year away from primaries, so I mean, good first showing, but I'm eager to see more.
I yell on top of you like they all did in the debate. Just kidding. I won't do that.
Yeah. We can all just completely talk over each other and start shouting loudly.
That was the one thing that pissed me off about debate is that, it's basically who can make himself stand out by yelling. That was what pissed me off. I don't like de Blasio. I know he's a liberal, but he just rubs me the wrong way. Dude, shut up. Let them talk every 5 seconds, and other people did too, so I shouldn't just picking on him.
But that was a big thing. If you look at the first night to the second night, the first night it was more of I heard somebody say the first night was more of a quorum, everybody. Yeah. I think Laurent actually said that on your last episode. Yeah. It was it was more of a quorum. Everybody took their question and they answered it, and if they were addressed, then they, came back and addressed that they were addressed in the previous candidate's statement. But second night, it was guns blazing from the beginning. And I don't know, I kind of dug the first night more, not because I liked or preferred the candidates that were on the first night, but I don't know, I think I am just as everybody else is just so sick of how politics run in this country that it was nice to see a little bit of decorum and nice to see a little bit of, humanity.
I actually read through the transcripts, and most second night was crosstalk, inaudible. I'm like, that's fine.
Inaudible.
Inaudible, yeah. Well, and you ran into that a couple times in the first night, specifically with Julian Castro and Beto O'Rourke, with Beto going to explain his point of view, and then Castro literally talking over him and using his whole minute. And that's another thing that bothered me, is if you have somebody who stops you and talks over you, you should be allowed to get your full minute. That's not fair. That's it's inappropriate to me. It's piss poor politics. And like we've already said, we don't think it told us anything. Dan's already mentioned that we had one candidate drop out, and that was Eric Swalwell. Swalwell is actually somebody who I liked a lot when he got in. I started paying attention to him. He's a real young guy, real smart. I think he saw it as a better move to try to go back into the House of Representatives, but he wasn't made or broken by this debate. In fact, he actually had a really, really good debate. I mean, he went up. He went at Biden. He went at Buttigieg, and he called Buttigieg out on why he hasn't fired the police chief in South Bend for what's been going on there. And that whole situation is a mess in South Bend. But when they started talking about it, I wasn't really that impressed by Buttigieg's answer. It's
you don't like
easy
his honesty?
to say. It wasn't necessarily his honesty. I don't know. It's just something about him. He doesn't seem remorseful. He doesn't seem like it's that important to him. And that kind of rubs me the wrong way. I want somebody who I believe.
He seemed a little matter of fact. Yeah. They were like, well, why haven't you done it? He's like, we just haven't gotten it done.
Yeah, he's one guy who I thought would have a better showing on it was Thursday, right?
Yeah. Who? Buttigieg? Yeah. Buttigieg was Thursday, and he's literally polled at 0% with black voters, and that should tell you something. But and again, let's stick to the debates.
Well, one thing, Chris, before I'm trying to pull the debate thing, but if you're that level of black voters, even if you win Iowa, when you go to the South states, you're not going to have a shot there.
No, not at
the
all.
Carolinas, the Alabama, Mississippi's, it's going to be a problem for him. But
oh yeah, for sure. For sure, and that is going to be a real problem. But somebody who I thought had a really, really, really great night that I was really, really impressed with was Kamala Harris. I think she made the most of her moment. She's the only one that I felt like actually rose to the occasion. Everybody keeps talking about Elizabeth Warren, but Elizabeth Warren says the same thing every time. Bernie Sanders says the same thing every single time. And unfortunately, on the first night, the first 3 or 4 questions, they ask Elizabeth Warren a question, somebody else. Elizabeth Warren a question, somebody else. And I thought that was unfair. There's a lot of people we didn't hear a lot from. I know, Tim Ryan kind of made a fool of himself with the Taliban attack, his Taliban comment, but we didn't hear much else from him. I would have liked to hear more.
I think it was.
Is that by design?
Yeah, honestly, I think it was by design. I think it was by design, and let's put Elizabeth Warren out there with all of these people that are kind of in the back of everybody's mind and then stack the second night. And also, I mean, I understand that there are 20 people participating in these debates. I still think that it needed to be, 5 people one night, 5 people the next night. I understand that you're trying, but you can't get everybody's, there's just physically not enough time, because we know how these debates go. Case in point, the second night, like there's just no way to get everybody enough time to, if these debates are designed to inform the American people of what their policies are or what they think about each of these issues, there's no way that that's going to happen with this big of a field in 1 2-hour night.
No, absolutely.
I think it could have helped a lot had it been spread out a bit more.
I agree with that. I think it was just an absolute shit show from the beginning, just because of the numbers that they had. It was too many people, and I get that we have 23 people running and that many people qualified, and we have a lot of people who qualified for CNN as well. That number is a little bit smaller. But the debate in September, you had to make. I mean, they tightened it. It is going to be only 8 people.
Mm-hmm.
Only 8 people. And that I think is going to be a lot better. It's going to narrow it down, and people are really going to be able to see what these candidates have to offer. And that's what the debates are about, because some of these guys don't get a lot of major coverage. Or they get bad press. So this is their chance to like show who they are. So if you mess up once, you're kind of like, you're a little bit up the creek. It's or something happens. Let's take the Beto Castro moment. Beto is starting to talk about his policy on immigration, and Julian Castro throws out there 1325. 1325 is kind of how they patrol the border, and he said that they should get rid of that because that's what leads to the detainment of children. That's what the Trump administration is using and all that good stuff. But he also kind of at the same time threw red meat to the Republican base, because it sounds like he wants open borders, and that's not good. That's a real bad idea. It's a terrible idea. But more to the point, Beto didn't get to tell us about his immigration policy, and his immigration policy is fantastic. It's amazing. If you sit down and read it, it's really good. Like it's comprehensive, and it'll get more than just your hardcore far left Democrats on it. It'll pull in some Republicans, and as much as it pains me to say it, we need some of those votes.
But I mean, that's just that. I mean, yeah, that's just the nature of nature of the beast of politics in this country, though. Is you have to have some from each side, and not just like in an election, in Congress and lawmaking.
Yeah, Congress should be bipartisan. It shouldn't be this is a Republican issue, this is a Democrat issue. I mean, like, that's going to happen, but you have to find common ground. That's what this country has been built on.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying.
But Chris, other than the 1325 issue, what made Beto stand out from other candidates? Obviously you want to have the DACA, pathway to citizenship, border security. What else stands out from his and somebody like Kamala or Biden or Warren?
Well, the thing with the other ones is Castro actually got Warren to sign on with getting rid of 1325, and Kamala also raised her hand with that towards that, and they kind of all separated themselves, and Beto was the one who kind of stuck behind it. Well, the reason that he has stuck behind it was more or less because he wants to keep people like actual criminals from coming into the country. We have to have some kind of policing. We can't just have open borders. There has to be some kind of safety behind it. His policy, he wants to bring DACA recipients into the fold. He wants to help people become citizens. He wants people to do things the right way. Like, it's not necessarily, you can't just, it's an open door policy. If you have not necessarily an open door, sorry, that makes it sound like open borders, and that's not the case. He wants it to be more friendly and more inviting. If you won't have people coming here legally if you don't have a reason to come here legally, right? If you think you can come in and use the legal methods, you're going to do that. Like you're not gonna, because it creates a lot of fear. And you're right. If you look through a lot of their policies, a lot of it is the same. Where he stands out is on 1325. That's a big part of that.
Okay.
But so let's dig into the Harris Biden incident. I say an incident, and really in a 4-hour debate. Let's put them all together, all the candidates. Only two moments really kind of stick out to me, and that was Beto and Castro, and Harris and Biden, because that's really what's been getting the most attention. Because you haven't heard anything else about Pete Buttigieg and the South Bend incident, or not necessarily incident, but part of the debate. Nobody's talking about Bill de Blasio. They still talk about Julian Castro and Beto O'Rourke and Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. And Kamala Harris went for the jugular on that. Cut him up, served him up for dinner. 100%. Like she put him over a barrel on that one, and rightly so. And when she told that story about being one of the people who was bussed, and she finished it with, and that little girl was me, everybody kind of went, oh, okay.
First of all, she started with, being the only person of color on this stage, can I talk about race?
Yeah.
Number one. Like,
that's when she threw down the gauntlet.
No, and I know, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I maybe that was a misstep on the moderator's part when they're like, we can't talk about issues of race and not. It was almost like they were not including the one person of color on that stage.
Was that the second hour or the first hour? I can't remember.
I think it was the first hour.
I think it was.
It was very early on.
Was it?
Yeah,
I honestly don't remember.
Because I think she threw Joe Biden off his game, and back to Joe Biden just a little bit before we really get into Kamala. He seemed really disoriented and confused.
I think he did too. Yeah.
He just didn't. He seemed old. I don't want to come off like that, but he seemed old. And
yeah, but he's never been a good campaigner. He had a lot of missteps, a lot of bad. He's kind of like, I don't want to say he's like Trump because that's a bad comparison, but he says things he shouldn't say, and looks kind of foolish. Even when he was younger. He's ran for president 4 times now or so.
Mm-hmm.
I know he's a good senator, he's a good vice president, but I just don't think he has a presidential chops.
I don't either.
I think it's all name recognition. With
yeah,
him.
For sure. Because if it wasn't Obama's VP, he would be another guy.
Yeah, he would be just another one in the pack.
Mm-hmm. I agree, and I think Kamala Harris exposed him. Yeah. With that, she very much exposed him for.
I just don't understand how. I just don't understand how. Like, if you say something and you don't mean it the way that it's taken, that happens. Things get misconstrued. But immediately be like, "Y'all, my bad." Don't let it drag on. I don't think Joe Biden's a racist. I don't think anybody thinks Joe Biden's a racist. But you can't talk about being able to work with segregationists and not condemning them as, crappy people. Yeah. Like,
very fine people. Come on.
Exactly. Like, if you say your dumb thing, own it and be like, y'all, my bad. That's not what I meant. Segregationists are crappy people. And I don't think, like, the but is a wrong. I mean, like, there are crappy people in Congress, and you're going to have to work with them. That is just case in point.
It sounds like he's saying there's fine people on both sides.
It's exactly what it sounds like.
It sounds like that.
He's not saying that.
No. He's not saying that at all. Don't take me wrong. Yeah. But that's what it sounds like. And perception is the key here, especially when you're running for president.
Yeah, his point makes sense that he can work with anybody, but you shouldn't be saying, "Oh, I work with these two assholes. I can do it to anybody."
Exactly.
And one thing about Biden that bothers me is his once I'm president, the Republicans will come to my side. He can't be that dumb.
Yeah.
Like, he was literally next to Obama for 8 damn years. And 8 damn years, what did McConnell do? No, we're not going to do that. No, we're not going to appoint your judges. We're not going to confirm your judges, blah, blah, blah. Even the district judges. Like, he did jack shit, McConnell for 8 years on purpose.
Yeah, he's not going to come around running against him now, so.
Yeah, he's not going to come around and help you out if the Republicans win the Senate. He's not.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I would
No.
like to just point out real quick that I was not the first one to curse tonight. Usually
I think it was Chris.
am.
Chris said something before.
Yeah,
I know. I
had that
was just
conversation.
waiting for you to do it too.
Yeah,
Oh, you
that's
wanted me
funny.
I just
pick
wanted to point
pot
it
the
out.
cherry?
Yeah. All
I'm sorry
right.
for my little cough
That's
that
funny.
came about now. So if you hear a cough, I'm sorry.
That's funny.
trying
No,
to-
no, you're good. You're good. You're good.
Might have been the
But-
first one to curse in general on this podcast, but not
Yeah.
tonight.
I haven't said the F word yet. I'm waiting on that one.
She broke the mold. No, and I think part of the problem here is something that all of us kind of just did. We started talking about Kamala Harris, and we ended up on Joe Biden. And I think that happens a lot because we should be talking about Kamala Harris, but we kind of got diverted and started talking to Joe Biden, and that's part of what I'm seeing in this race. Anyways, so let's take this back to Kamala Harris, who she had a really strong night. I think if you asked me, I think Kamala Harris won both nights. I keep seeing a lot of stuff about Elizabeth Warren, and I am admittedly not an Elizabeth Warren fan. But she didn't really do anything. That she hasn't said anything that she hasn't said before, and you can argue that a lot of them didn't, but Kamala Harris did. Kamala Harris 100% said something different.
But she had to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, everybody had to. Everybody on that stage, you had to say something different from everybody else. That's why they were going after each other.
But I think Warren's already going up in the polls, and I think her probably goal was not to stumble, not to say anything really outlandish. Well, Kamala was sort of coming up and not quite there, and this was like her. I forget the moment she had a couple months ago, in a hearing, maybe it was for Kavanaugh, where she basically laid somebody out.
Oh yeah, Klobuchar was in that too, and
I
Klobuchar put her. I like her too.
Yeah.
Klobuchar, and that's one of the nice things. Like, it's nice to have so many people that you like.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
there's very few who I don't like, to be honest.
Yeah. De Blasio rubbed me the wrong way. I found him annoying. Castro annoyed me, and I've never been a Bernie Sanders fan. I get it, but he promises a bunch of stuff he's never gonna. He just can't give. It's impossible. And to that matter, he runs as a Democrat when it's convenient.
Yeah.
And again, he didn't say anything outstanding either. And I agree with your point about Elizabeth Warren, but at the same time, I mean, she's still not first.
No.
She's nowhere near, and the polls are stupid anyways, if you want to ask my opinion. But she's still not first.
Mm-hmm.
And to quote Ricky Bobby, if you ain't first, you're last.
Wow.
It's it's as simple as it is. Right?
That's what far up didn't come up with. God, okay.
Yeah. I found a way to
But I mean, that begs the point again. Why is Joe Biden first? Is Joe Biden first because everybody knows who the hell he is, or is Joe Biden ranking or polling first because people are actually picking up what he's putting down?
It's name recognition. It's 100% name recognition.
It's the former.
So if you take that out, how do you?
I think she knows. It's like kind of when you're playing a game and you know somebody can sabotage themselves. I think that might be one of her goals. Is like she knows that she has a great message. She has a good story to tell, and she has some name recognition. She's liked. Biden has all that, but Biden stumbles. Biden has foot and mouth disease.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So he's his worst enemy.
The
only issue she's had is the Cherokee issue with the Native American bloodline. She probably fabricated. Other than that, she's been pretty solid.
I wouldn't say fabricated.
I put too much out there for that, I guess.
Yeah, you can't she used it too much. Like there's everybody in America thinks they're part Native American. They're all told that story, but I didn't put it on a college application or any kind of applications. Yeah, no. Daniel is 100%.
You're a different type of tribe.
I'm definitely different. Yes, exactly.
You come from 12 tribes. But and I say, hey, I like to throw my stuff out there.
You too,
but with Biden, I think people see it as 8 more years of Obama. That's what they're banking on is 8 more years of Obama, and it 100% won't be. And we don't need that. We don't need 8 more years of Obama. And if I'm going to tout, like I said, this is a Better Org podcast. I kind of opened it up for the debates for us to talk about that, and I volunteer and I campaign for him and do all of that stuff, and I'm going to do that right now. We don't need more of the same. We need somebody different, and that's what he's trying to do. He's breaking the mold, going door to door, going to different. Like he's going back to Iowa. He's been to Iowa like 4 or 5 times. Something stupid. Like Beto will work market down right now. We'll go to every single county in Iowa before that primary.
Well, he has
he'll
an
be
advantage.
He'll be the only one who does it.
He has an advantage over most of the candidates. He doesn't have a job.
That's fair, but
I'm not saying that's not negative. I'm saying he's that's something he can do. Nobody else can do. Listen, he's a great candidate, great ideas, and he'd be a fine nominee. But Warren, Harris, Biden doesn't have a job either.
When was the last time you saw either of them in Congress? When was the last time Harris?
Very rarely. Well, summer is a little different, but very rarely. But yeah, they're out too. But he can go to Iowa. He can go to the Carolinas. He can go to New Hampshire. He can spread himself thin. He has nothing to worry about.
I'm seeing a lot of people that are going to stuff anyways.
Yeah. No.
Regardless, I mean, like you say they don't have a job to do, but they still have a job to do, and they're not there. And that's not to take anything away from it because they're trying to go for something better and greater and be of a more service to the people. But I haven't seen any of them in Congress. But that's just me. I kind of follow all of their schedules a little bit. They're all hitting Iowa really hard. Beto and Biden were there. The weekend actually ran into each other at a ceremony that they were bringing a citizenship ceremony. But so with the first debates, really, we're not going to get anything out of that. And unfortunately, we've already seen one person drop out, and that had nothing to do with this debate. But we have people. There's another debate coming up on CNN in July. What do we want to see from that debate? Like when they hit that stage, having seen the just travesty, in my opinion, the travesty that was the first one, who do you think is going to recover the best? Hannah, you can go first.
Give me a little bit of background real quick,
showing.
though. How many people are going to be in this debate? Yeah. You said CNN is making sure that it's only 8.
Nope, that's September.
Okay.
There could still be there's still going to be a few more. I think Yang has qualified. Castro's qualified.
Not a fan, Dan.
Yeah, but not a fan. Like the guy has no shot.
Yeah,
it's not even that he doesn't have. He's trying to
wasting my time.
Here's how I feel about him. That whole $1,000 thing. Like I feel like he's trying. It's almost like I don't know.
And he stumbled on it, and he asked him a question. Like, "What? Me? Who? What? It's my idea." Yeah. Like, all right.
But if I remember correctly, and I'm pretty sure I do because I was like, oh my gosh, Kamala Harris has some kind of similar something. And because when she first announced her candidacy, she did a town hall on CNN, and I haven't seen it since, and I don't exactly remember what she said, but I remember being blown away by some program policy, something that she had that was like something akin to the Obama stimulus thing, where your average citizen got some government funded money to help integrate, whether it's the economy or their lives or whatever. And I remember, Chris, do you remember what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think you said like how much $400 would change.
Yeah, something like that. Like
be a big difference, and it's true.
Yeah. So, I mean,
but we're not talking about it now. That's part of the problem. She should have stuck to that. I haven't heard her say anything else about it. But I agree with you. I think that's kind of something she's backed off of a little.
Yeah.
But I could be wrong.
Yeah. So no, I'm just kind of dovetailing to the Yang thing with his $1,000. It's like,
yeah.
I mean,
it sounds good, but it's not feasible. That's my opinion on it, though.
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm naive to think that, the plans that these candidates are bringing about are actually feasible. Maybe I'm naive in thinking that, but I don't know. I think it's going to take a lot of hard work, and I think it's going to take a lot of zhuzhing.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, like plans like Elizabeth Warren's super mega millionaire, whatever lottery term she's calling it, that tax. I feel
see it being hard pressed. Oh, sorry.
No, I'm just saying I see it as being a feasible thing, but maybe I just have too much faith in humanity.
I don't see that kind of like a here's money being something Americans love.
Yeah,
Get behind. I get one thing, Medicare for all. That's something that could pop.
it's a service.
Yeah, and that should, other ideas that I'm blanking on right now.
Yeah,
but like that's something that people need. Even even student loan reduction, and I'm not saying free college, but
yeah,
something that's
it's
more
another
affordable
great
college.
plan Beto has, by the way.
Thank you, Chris.
Once he has his education plan out, like whatever of what I've seen of him say about it is really good.
Listen, student loans shouldn't cripple us.
Exactly.
But at the same time, that's something you could probably get past. But giving people money every month, it seems tougher and harder to convince voters to get on your side about.
Exactly, and I would say almost the majority of voters don't want just free money being handed out.
I mean, I want to say no to that, but
no, absolutely not.
It seems like a tough thing.
Sure, why not? But it's got to be able to get through Congress.
I never would. Hell, Medicare for all might have a hard time getting through Congress, but
it sounds good on a campaign, but it's not feasible. But let me reword the question a little bit differently. Who do you think is going to come out and really wow us? Like we know what Elizabeth Warren can do, so I don't see her coming out and wowing everybody. There are a lot of people who really want to make their cases known, and people that didn't have the best night, but that really need to make that really need to wow us.
I don't know if anybody really is going to wow anybody.
Yeah.
Again, it's July. We're so far out. The field is way too crowded. And if it devolves into what these debates did on the second night, then it doesn't, or even, with Beto and Castro, then nothing is going to stand out. What's going to stand out are the negatives.
I agree with that, and I think that's again what popped kind of stood out this time. It wasn't even necessary, and like the stuff that did stand out wasn't necessarily negative, but I mean it just, and a lot of it hasn't been painted in the it's confusing. The Castro and Beto thing was confusing. Like it threw people off for 4 days. It
really did, because I was very confused by it, and that might just be part of my ignorance into what that policy is, but I think that a lot of people got caught up by that or tripped up by that.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I was like, what the hell is he talking about? So what does a candidate have to do to stand out? We've seen it. We've seen how it's going to play out. We know what they're going to do. I mean, if we get more of the same, what is a candidate going to have to do to stand out?
That's a good question. It's tough. Like we said, it's July, but you got to find a quote unquote viral moment. Something where they're going to go after the leader or somebody, somebody like a Biden, somebody like a Sanders. And I'm not trying to bash or work. I think he's a great candidate. He's a great campaigner, but that stage for some reason is not his best friend. So he struggled against Cruz. And I think he could find a way if it's a smaller setting to, he didn't have a great debate. Well, he did have a good debate, but it didn't look good on the media. I mean, anybody
the media bashes him all the time anyways.
I'm not trying to pander to this podcast, but I think if anybody can get up from this, it'd be him. Because he doesn't. I read his stuff. I try to listen to him again. His ideas are strong, are solid. He seems sincere. There's no BS there. But the worst thing that could happen is you have like a stumble where if you're somebody like a Booker, who I think is fine on he was on Wednesday. He was on Wednesday.
He was on Wednesday. I think Booker had a good show too.
Yeah, but
nobody was really strong. No, other than Kamala Harris. I'm not going to take anything away from her.
But Booker and Buttigieg did have a little stumble with the police chief thing. He should have fired the guy the next day. But Booker had a decent showing, and Klobuchar to me had a decent showing, but didn't even move a needle for anybody.
No, and I think you saw that with the polls that came after.
Yeah.
I mean, the initial ones, they had a couple polls had Castro go up.
Yeah, he went up, and Moore went up.
But he immediately went back down. Like most people kind of stayed the same. Beto's climbed a little bit. Harris has really climbed, but a lot of the other guys who are, the 1%ers or less than 1%ers they didn't really move the needle. I saw Gabbard show up on a few polls, and I think it'd be a disservice to not mention her, because Tulsi Gabbard actually in the first debates, I was relatively impressed by her, knowing what I know about her. And knowing where she came from, having come from a similar background and conservative background, I kind of got that. Sometimes it takes a long time to unlearn stuff.
Yeah, and I can totally
to really see the world.
I can totally appreciate somebody who has had literally life-changing experiences and mind-altering experiences, and having to navigate, oh yeah, I used to, say this and I used to say that, but this is why I'm changing my mind now. I totally respect that.
Yeah, no, I do too. Speaking of mind altering experiences, I think I think one of my favorite parts about the first debate had to have been a lot of the tweets afterwards about Marianne Williams, who seems like a super sweet lady, but I'm pretty sure she was digesting an edible the whole time. She's all about that peace and love, man, which sounds great on paper, but I mean, she's another one. Like she's getting a lot of funding, and I actually read somewhere where they think it's she has a lot of GOP funding because they know she's not going to win, but they want to keep getting her on the debate stage, which is weird. And it's working if that's what they're doing, because she's in the second debate. So I guess we're going to get more of the same. She is pretty much the Democrat version of Professor Trelawney. That's how I saw her.
Oh, man.
Dude. But I mean, like, no, she was kind of a space case. She was the only one that she seemed really out of place, and I want to embrace President Trump with love.
And call New Zealand right away.
Yeah, she's gonna. You best watch out. She's gonna call New Zealand.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. What? For fucking what? For fucking what? What the hell? It's a really nice place. The Shire is there, but why is she calling New Zealand?
The Shire is there. Oh my god.
I don't know, man.
Lord of the Rings podcast coming up next.
Yeah. In another news, I don't know, man. I think I think really from what I got from you guys from that both questions is we just really need this.
We need a culling. We need people to go away.
We need people to go away, and unfortunately, Swalwell, yes, while he dropped out, we got Tom Steyer.
Yeah, right.
Why? Here's my thing on Steyer. Steyer better not use a single dime that he made from his PAC he created to impeach Trump. Because if I would have donated to that and he decided to use it for himself to run for president after I donated it for something else, I would be pissed.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't donate money for you to run for president. You told me you weren't running for president. My money goes to Beto O'Rourke. When I can donate, I donate to Beto O'Rourke because that's who I want to see as president.
Is that illegal to do that?
I don't know.
I mean,
sounds illegal.
Yeah, right. Like with very loose lips, I say it has to be. I mean, you can't divert funds that were meant for something like that's what like embezzling is, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. At the same time, we gave him the money.
Our president does that, so might as well. Why
right?
not?
I mean,
we get away with it.
That's the butthurt emails excuse.
Yeah, but like my problem with Tom Steyer, and I'm jumping the gun, maybe like why? What's the rationale? Nobody knows who you are. You're not Trump. You don't have the name recognition. Your money can go far if you really want it to make a difference in the Democratic Party. Give to state legislative races. Give to the Senate. There's several states like Maine, Colorado, Iowa, New Carolina who need that money. You know, if you flip state, look at your state. If I'm wrong,
MJ Hagar.
One vote changed the House of Delegates last 2 years ago. And it makes a huge difference. And for all you who are not aware, I know it's a big census issue right now, is that states decide to census. So if it's Democratic legislators, they can draw the lines. Not Republicans who want to gerrymander. Oh, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully, ideally,
So,
because that's going up to the Supreme Court again too.
Yeah. So long story
we
short,
talked on that one.
Tom Steyer, use your money and invest it to down ballot races and to the Senate.
I mean, that
Please.
kind of touches. I'm sorry, Dan. Continue. Sorry.
No, I'm done. You can go.
No, I was just going to say this kind of touches on the thought that's been in the back of my mind through this entire conversation, through this entire, lead up to debates and all this. And I don't mean to diminish the importance of the presidency, but it's like legit. Like, is this really the race that we need to really be concerned about right now, or is or are congressional races more of an urgency at this point?
I think, I agree. I think it's both. There is I can't remember her name. I want to say it's Amy McGrath is the one who's she is running against Mitch McConnell, mm-hmm. and 100% she's gonna get some of my money because I want that man jobless.
Damn straight.
He has earned not having a job.
Let's be real. Like some of our money. Can we just throw that one out there?
Yeah, that's fair. Whatever.
Sound like my wife. Calm down.
Yeah, no, and again, you have MJ Hagar who's running in Texas, and it drives me crazy that people are like, Beto needs to drop out and run for Senate. We have this great candidate in Texas who's running against Cornyn, and Cornyn's not doing himself any favors because he keeps saying stupid shit. Mm-hmm. Like, you can't keep saying stupid shit, and people like actually want to vote for you, unless you're Donald Trump and he panders to lowest common denominator of people. It's unfortunate. We need to unseat those guys.
That's true.
And so that we need this isn't this isn't checkers, it's chess. We need to be able to move all of the pieces all over the board at any given time.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
We have to make sure we're focusing on that. But the presidency is just as important, because if we have a Republican president and Trump is president again, he will never sign anything, and we will not get enough people. It is almost impossible that we'll get to a point where we can override vetoes. Yeah. Well, people are getting tired of his nonsense, regardless of what he may say. Like, this stuff is important, and I don't think the debates are. I don't buy into polls. Polls poll 1,000 people. It's like there were a couple of polls that came out that were 0.00005% of the population of people. That's not a poll. That's not a sample size. If you want a good sample size for the amount of people who are running right now, they need to poll 100,000 people in every state. That's the only way we're going to get a true testament of what of where people's heads are. And these debates, they give us a showcase, but Beto he didn't have a good night. He didn't have a bad night, but he didn't have a great night either. But if you go and look at the support that he has garnered in Nashville and in South Carolina, like, he's really energized those people. He's pushing this whole new kind of politics thing. Maybe it's time that people get on that train. Like, our system isn't working. Our system brought us Donald Trump, and it's given us Mitch McConnell, and it's given these people way too much power.
You made me shiver. One thing I want to say, Chris, about the Senate and the presidency is that I say we, together here, we need to be unified on one message. I said today, DOJ is arguing against ACA, and sorry, talking about Hannah's podcast, but states are passing very restrictive abortion laws that should be against the Constitution. We need to have the message that they're coming for our rights and Hannah, your rights, because I'm not a woman, obviously. But for our healthcare, luckily Chris and I are both teachers, so we thank God have the government healthcare more or less. Everybody does, and people are going to start dying and getting really sick again if people lose their protections.
Yep.
So people need to know that. It should be the message. It should all we talk about.
There are going to be women who die because of them, those laws, and it'll give a fuck
about my language.
Yeah, it's just it's unfortunate that that's where we're at, and we're really divided. So maybe a new kind of politics isn't a bad idea.
I mean, like, you can be like, you can have different views from each other, but you have to find a way to work together.
And we're not. Nobody is. And that kind of behavior is being allowed by the minority. there's no way. Like, I know Republicans, and I know good Republicans, like people who are good, decent people. There are Republicans against Trump. Like, that's a thing. They have to be in the minority. I would have to think so.
Well,
like, just my belief in humanity.
One elected official has spoken out against Trump. That's all you need to know about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's all you know about it. That nobody has enough of a freaking backbone to stand up to this guy. Because they do, we can tweet at them, and they're going to go, "Oh, I'm sorry. No, look at Cruz, look at Rubio, look at Lindsey Graham."
Yeah.
That ass clown was, Graham literally lambasted him for being unfit, and now he's like his butt buddy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I get it. You can be against him, but then you're his best friend. Like, I don't know.
It's unfortunate all around, and we need to get back to we need change. That's pretty much it. I know we started this week. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, doesn't he kind of sound like, in a way, obviously different people, kind of like Obama, young guy, charismatic guy, in government. He made his Obama had the speech in 2004, Beto ran and has some good moments. Doing it a little differently. They kind of have a similar feel to it.
That's what I'm seeing a lot of.
He's
behind.
A lot of people. Obama's behind. Obviously Obama was a little bit less. Well, I shouldn't say that. But Hillary was clearly in front, and Obama stormed back and won Iowa.
Again, it was major name recognition at the time. The field back then wasn't as crowded.
It was,
and I've heard a lot of people say, make the comparisons to Obama, but I see him more in the same vein as Bobby Kennedy.
That's my name recognition.
Yeah, no, that's a big one. I went back and I read through some of the stuff on Bobby, and I was like, wow, they're very similar to the way they do things. Like,
didn't he come late to the field, Bobby?
He did.
Yeah.
When in '68 he won. He won California. Like, he was getting his butt kicked, and he goes and he wins California. And unfortunately, we know what happens after that. And he was going into the convention. He was going to be the nominee. He would have been the nominee the same day that he won California. He won North Dakota, and that it changed everything right there. That's all it's going to take. Beto's going to win Texas. Beto will win Texas. Write that down right now. He's already got a lead on all of them in Texas in all of those polls that I say that don't matter. But it's just I don't know. We need a lot of change, and I know this whole thing was supposed to be about debates, and again, it's the first debate, so I'm glad we got this conversation kind of going and flowing, and we're all kind of all over the place, and that's how it is right now. We're all in a position where, like, we kind of need to come up for air from time to time. But then we're gonna call it there. I appreciate you guys coming back on. I really appreciate it. Hannah came in at the last second.
Literally last second. Literal last second.
It's
not even like it's
when you live with the guy that does the podcast and you walk by at the wrong time.
Wrong time. Perfect time.
Perfect time.
Perfect timing. Yeah, you guys, like, the conversation's good. You guys add a lot, but and it's
Beto.
good. It's good to have people who want to. Go Beto. Let's get this thing done, man. And I do want to say, if you have a Lights for Liberty event near you, I know this will come out on Thursday, late Wednesday night, early Thursday morning. If you have a Lights for Liberty event near you, get out to it. We have to bring attention to these detention camps and what they are doing to children.
I want to plug my fellow tribe members in my state of New Jersey, Elizabeth, getting out there and making the point, never again is never again. That's not, we can't use the line and say, oh, let's remember the Holocaust, and then turn our eyes blind to the detention centers. Yeah, I know what AOC said, and it's not, whatever she said, and I don't think she was necessarily wrong with what she said. But it's the fact that the judge jumped on her throat for using those words, instead of saying, "Oh, it's a problem here," shows you how little they care about this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's not never again. Sometimes.
Yeah.
It's never again. Period.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna plug that, and I'm gonna plug that hard. If you can get out for a Lights for Liberty event, get out to it. I'm going up to Richmond. Me and Hannah got a sitter. We're gonna go up there. we're gonna go up, and we're gonna make sure that our voices are heard. These are kids. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, they're children.
Listen, I have a 5-year-old who, I don't know what he would do, and a 3-year-old, and you obviously have a really young kid.
Yeah, I have a 9-month-old.
But that's the crazy thing, is we have a 9-month-old, and it is still something that could happen to him.
Yeah. Oh, I look at him every day, and I would think there's nothing. It'd take a lot of people to get him from me. Period. And a lot of people. But again, I want to thank you guys for coming on, guys.
My pleasure.
For all, yeah, thank you, Hannah. Thank you. Last minute edition, awesome. You crushed it. But for you guys, for my listeners out there, if you can get out, volunteer, donate. I know this is a very Beto centric podcast, but donate to other causes too that are important. Again, I brought up the detention centers. There's plenty of programs and things that you can get out and do that you can donate towards that. But again, also donate towards Beto's campaign. We need that money. Get out and volunteer, hold events, go to events. When he comes to your town or comes close to you, go see him speak. The man can speak. Hannah can attest to that because she saw him when he was in Hampton, and I'm super, super jealous. But for super, super jealous, I made her go because I couldn't.
Oh.
Yeah. But anyways, for now, I'm Chris, and let's keep on looking ahead to Beto days.